Ironwood Games. This is Andrew, and welcome to today's video. We are on Arena. I'm going to play some Standard. I was on here getting my gold for the day, and I thought, well, I've been having fun with this deck a little bit, so we'll record it. So I'm playing a deck I call Blue-Black Draw 2 Budget. It is based off of this Blue-Black Draw 2 deck that I watched 2 or 3 weeks ago. Saffron Olive piloted it, and it's already a budget deck. So I'm just slowly building into it. I'm missing a little bit of land, couple of puppeteers, anointers, and evolved sleepers. So definitely some pieces. The Evangel of Synthesis, definitely some good pieces. But the deck, so that's what it wants to have, right? And have all these draw 2 triggers, and does a little bit of recursion. So I've tried to find, for the things I'm missing, kind of similar options. So I have a couple of those. Like Dockside Chef allows me to draw a card. Just more ways to trigger that. We used to have 2 Fading Hopes. We added 1 Vortex from a Fading Hope as we got a new uncommon wild card. So instead of like Go for the Throat, we have Infernal Grasp. So definitely some ways that could be, like, we know would be upgrades if we could get those cards, and then playing just more tap lands instead of maybe some of the better and the pain lands in this. So let's take this out and see where we can go with it. So I'm just playing ranked standard one-ofs because they're quick and I don't have to think about it. And I've been enjoying it, so we're going to take it out, kind of see how it does for you guys, and maybe we'll get enough wins to get another wild card or another one of those things and slowly upgrade it. So the goal is to kind of upgrade it. I don't play ranked very often, or constructed ranked. This seems kind of bad with lots of lands, but it does have a Fairy Vandal and some draw, and it'll draw into other things, so we're going to keep it. So I'm only, Bronze 3 now, because I've just started playing it in this season and did some of my dailies with it. Alright, so we are going to just play the land, play out Fairy Vandal on our opponent's turn. No reason to rush it, so it looks like they've got maybe a similar deck. They're playing Island, they're playing Consider, but they could be playing a little control-ish deck. They're looking to Consider. We could have considered on our opponent's turn last time just to draw another card, but I think with the limited amount of draw 2 creatures we actually have, we do try and kind of hold on to these tricks for moments where we can take advantage of them. So the Gravelighter is actually not quite good here. Every once in a while it can be good when they've got just 1 creature, but here it would just cause us to sack. If they have a removal, we can always play it. Second main and draw a card. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to attack. That way, in blue, I don't think they have a kill spell, something that will destroy it. But if they do, it lets us play our Gravelighter. Otherwise, we'll play our 3-drop out. This isn't, again, another change. It just gives us some recursion options. It's a 3/1 flyer for 3. It's a decent body. We don't do enough blood tokens to reliably get this recursion, but it tends to be a target for our opponent, as it can cause trouble in that. So we don't mind. We got the Fading Light on it. So here I'm going to play out my land. So now we can consider on this turn, since it's just a draw one. The other ones that draw more than one trigger on your opponent's turns. So we kind of like to consider on our own turn, even though it is an instant. If we've got the mana for it, and it makes sense. Do we need this? We haven't seen much creatures from them. I'm going to put that on the bottom. We have the Gravelighter if they get a creature out. Oh, we put it in the graveyard. It's Surveil, which I think is still fine. It helps to our Tainted Indulgence count. We don't often get to the 5 on that. If they're just holding back creatures, then the joke's on us. But it looks like they might just be playing control and only have maybe some finishers or other things. So the other thing with this is I don't know the meta. I don't know a lot of the decks very well. So we're going to pass to attackers. And here's where I think we're going to just use our mana. We have things to do. Oh yeah, because we wanted to play this 4-bear last time and we forgot. So that's fine. So let them, give them something to counter. Yep. Force some things out of their hand. So we're gonna attack here. Play the 4-bear. Now this turn, remember that we wanted to do that. Since they can't counter it here, which actually might have worked out well for us. I think so. If we play the swamp, we can Tainted Indulgence. I don't think we need to. I think we're going to play the tap land, just gain the life. Most likely they have just bounce, and so the Tainted Indulgence to grow our Fairy Vandal isn't super relevant and necessary. Here we go. We're going to now attack all. I think this is where, if they can, they'll try and deal with the 4-bear to keep from getting a blood token, which lets Fairy Vandal keep going in. Yeah, and that's fine. So they'll send it back. We'll hit the damage, and then we'll play it out again. I will play out the swamp so we have 6 mana, so I can let Gravelighter and Downfall in case we need to. I don't know if I need much more in terms of lands beyond this. If we draw a few more cards and things, we can. So here, this is interesting. The Scrapwork Rager actually lets us draw a card and pump the Fairy Vandal. And it's not a good bounce target. The problem is it only leaves it with 2 mana open. But we do want to do, if we're going to do it, we want to do it before it attacks. Otherwise, we attack for 5, let them try and bounce something, and then pump for a next turn. I think that's fine. We'll play it out. We'll either force them to bounce something. Cool. Or they'll counter it. That's fine. We'll get the Unearth on it. The zombies don't matter to us because we're in the air. So we definitely have seen counters that want mana to pay. But for the most part, we're okay with what's been getting countered. Again, we're playing this kind of slow, knowing they're gonna be seem to be kind of controlling, so we just need to be patient. Yeah, you can hit your damage off of it. I don't think we need a Tainted Indulgence. Again, we don't have enough payoffs, and we're kind of ahead on board here. We could Scrapwork Rager again. Puts them down to 2. But I don't know that that's... Well, I guess it puts it lethal on board because it can also attack. Yeah, so let's do that. Because now they have to bounce something. Because that's 8 damage. And if they don't, then we take that win. Alright. So we did it. That's why I say it's not a great deck. I'm sure if we tier up a bit, we might face some different decks or some different opponents. And maybe run into a little bit of a wall. But for now, like I say, I'm kind of enjoying it. It plays well, and it has some interesting plays. So let's go in for another one. And I think that game really did show off kind of what it wants to do. And so this is an interesting 2 islands. We don't really have an early creature. We don't even have a way to draw into things. I think this is pretty much a dead hand. So I'm gonna mulligan. Yeah, I'm gonna mulligan. I don't think I've mulliganed yet with this deck, but I just think this, we desperately need to draw a swamp. Or a Fairy Vandal, and then Swamp, and so it needs too many things. This is fine. We'll keep this 6. I think... this is interesting. Kind of choice. I'm going to throw the Rager back since it's at 4 and I have 3s for all of these. And we don't have any draw 2 triggers on it, so I think we're just going to stick to some playables. The Gravelighter is not great because he forces a sack. Double Gravelighter is maybe even worse. But if our opponent doesn't play anything out, I don't think we're in a bad spot, and if they do, we just Gravelighter it. Here's the question of whether or not we consider, and I think we do. We're just, yeah, we'll take that. We're just light enough on action. And now we have a Fairy Vandal for our next turn. Especially being light on blue, we couldn't have Fairy Vandaled and considered this turn, so even though that was on top and we would have drawn it, we couldn't have actually gotten the value out of that consider on this turn. So I think just digging one deeper to hopefully getting into maybe some islands. Or at least more land. So, probably playing some kind of go-wide creatures. We could hold up Hero's Downfall, or we can Gravelighter. And I'm inclined to just Gravelighter. Well, let's attack first. I think that's still right. Get in for the damage. Gravelighter's second main. Before they go wide with kind of nonsense creatures. And then have a big Gallagreater they don't have to sack right now, forcing the sack. On the Gallagreaters, it can be problematic if we don't deal with it. Where, like, the Undead Butler, not necessarily a problem. And I will probably play the Puppeteer, because it uses all of our mana. It does have that drain effect when we get our draws, like Tainted Indulgence. If we draw another 2-drop, we've got maybe 2 plays. If we draw a land, we've got 2 plays. Alright, so we've got Hideaway, 520 in the graveyard, so he's doing some kind of mill strategy. So we drew a land. It's unfortunately a tap land. I don't dislike those, the districts as tap lands, because you can sack them to draw a card, which can late game enable some interesting things here. Given what we have, I think we attack with everything and see if he's got some way to take out our puppeteer. Otherwise, he can bring back something and we can Gravelighter it, and I think that's a better option. And for now, we just pass. Let our opponent grow his graveyard, and hope whatever this card is isn't game-breaking. I think we're kind of in control here. Spell can't be countered. Okay, and then you can tap to put a creature in, so he's gonna cheat in the Phyrexian Fleshgorger. So I think now is where we Tainted Indulgence to get the value. I'm actually going to discard Swamp, since we don't need it. We can Gravelighter away his piece. Yeah, that Thirst then makes it a little less good. But we should do this now before he can activate it and cheat something else in to keep him, again, on kind of one creature. Swing for 6. Don't think he gets to this in time. And he's short on mana for that 7-drop that he got. He can play it as its prototype. Cool. Go for another one. Like, unfortunately for our opponent, what he doesn't know is that we have another Gravelighter. And that'll do it. Okay, so those Gravelighters can be really good in certain matchups, because they do kind of keep our opponent off if we draw them, but I don't know that they're great. But for a kind of budget option for this deck, they seem to work pretty well on it. All right, let's get you guys another one here. See what we can do. So 2-0. Again, we are Bronze 3, so don't go around shouting that we're the best, right? We're just starting out on the ladder here. But it's a fun deck, some interesting decisions, and I've been enjoying playing it. Again, this is based off of the Saffron Olive blue-black draw 2, involving like Fairy Vandals and things. This is an interesting choice. We have lots of draw. This removal is not really playable yet, but we do have a Consider to draw into a second land for a Fairy Vandal. We need to draw 2 lands, but once we do, I think we've got a way to dig into action. If this was 6, I think I would have to keep this 6 and throw back the Downfall, so why not keep the 7? I'm not sure, and this could be one that we should send back. But I'm going to keep it, see how it plays. I think, given that we have the Consider, I'm willing to give it a try. If we didn't have the Consider, I think this is not worth keeping. It's much too risky. We need to draw land on our first draw step, and being on the go, or on the play, we only get 1 draw to do that. So we do see that land there, so that's fine. So we will draw that land, which puts us at least a card deeper in, even though it's not perfect. Even though it's a tap land, in this case, a land is better than no land, and we did want to guarantee a land in that spot. Yeah, that's fine. So these 1/1 flyers are going to be, it looks like we might be playing against ninjutsu, are going to be interesting because we can Fairy Vandal in a block. So yeah, we didn't draw our third land, but that's fine because we can Fairy Vandal this turn. Again, he'll have 2, so he can flash in or ninjutsu in off whatever doesn't get blocked. So the question is, which thing is more problematic? Because this enables ninjutsu and has its own ninjutsu. Okay, well, he took care of that question for us by returning it. That's fine. Unable to ninjutsu anything. All right, now here is the problem. We are at 8 cards, so I'm just going to play Fairy Vandal main phase. He already knows about it. Keeps us from having to discard. And now not drawing a third land is definitely causing us some problems. Okay, I'm going to block the ninjutsu. I assume he's got something here. If nothing else, a ninjutsu of another 1000 Face Shadow. Something to bring in. There we go. That's fine. Again, whatever we didn't block, he was going to bring in. Oy, oy, oy. Okay, so we have to... We don't have to main phase this. If we don't, we will discard something. If we do, we'll discard anyways, because we're going to draw 2, discard a card. The hope is that we draw a land, though, which then keeps us from discarding. And I think we need that land, and we want to be able to play it on our turn. Oh, we have to choose a discard first. So, Hero's Downfall seems really good. Gurgling Anointer, well, it is flying. I think we're going to send a Thirst because we have so many of them. It could be Tainted, was the right thing to send back there. But I think with being light on colors and other... No attacks. I think we need to keep up our blocker, keep threatening some ninjutsu, or to keep him off of ninjutsu. Especially as it looks like we have these 1/1 flyers, especially for the ninjutsu creatures. We can Gurgling Anointer next turn to put in another flyer. And I was thinking about tossing this. And the reason that I didn't is because it's a 1/3 flyer, and if these are 1/1 flyers, or our 1/2 flyer, or the other 1/1 flyer we saw to enable the ninjutsu, then we need things that can block that. And just keep him off, or keep our opponent, you know, off the ninjutsu train. Here, now this is interesting though, because our Gurgling Anointer would block here, we could block here and kill. Yeah, I think even though we don't have an efficient way to use the mana, we could hold up Hero's Downfall, but I think that's better for if we need it when they remove, you know, bounce some creatures or whatever. So at this point, our opponent, unfortunately, I think drawing a little bit more. Oh, I think we will discard a card. I don't think we mind. Yeah, I think not. Well, we're going to discard a Thirst because we can double Tainted if we need to. So on my turn and my opponent's turn. Next turn if we don't draw a land. And I think Thirst being at 3 is just enough. And our opponent did not attack. Do we want to attack? Yes. Since we drew that Fairy Vandal, we do need to get some damage in. and or clear out the board. And we can Fairy Vandal and Tainted Indulgence. So this isn't interesting. Again, we're gonna discard. I'm gonna discard another Thirst. We draw enough that I think these discards we're gonna overcome. And that's something we can definitely downfall if we need to. And I think this keeps our opponent... I think sacking creatures is actually just bad for us since we don't have any way to recur them right now. Yeah, that's fine. Again, I don't think our opponent can attack here. Does. Sure, we're gonna block and then see what our opponent does, because we can always Tainted Indulgence. This creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped, you create... Okay. Does it do anything else? It just... I don't know if we have... We're gonna get rid of that one. Any creatures that we can recur right now. Which is... Maybe we should have gotten rid of Fairy Vandal for that reason. On that discard, yeah, that probably would have been the right play. So I think we misplayed that there. We're going to flash out the Fairy Vandal for the use of mana's sake. I think Hero's Downfall kills this thing because we can block other stuff effectively. The question is, do we attack? And I think no attacks. I think we continue to draw and build our board. I think we've got card advantage here. We know our opponent does have some bounce. And some ways to kind of cheat in its ninjutsu, but I think if we can keep them off ninjutsuing, I think that's where they're going to get their value, and then I think we stay ahead in this game. Sure, they're going to play just another creature out, so I think that's good. That again shows that they're maybe giving up on the ninjutsu path. So here I think, well, it's a 0/4 with Menace. Do we care? Do we kill a lifelinker? I think we do just kill a lifelink, because that's going to be more problematic long term. And then we'll just draw. Gravelighter is not bad. I think we'll discard Scrap Ranger. I don't mind just getting one trigger Unearth out of it. Play the land. We have 6, so that's 4, but we can't do both of those. The question is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we let them ninjutsu, is it better to just hold back or to try and get an attack in and bring them down? I think letting them ninjutsu to draw or to get value is going to be bad. So I think we're going to Gravelighter. Sack Gravelighter to itself. Next. No attacks. And this is the point where our thirsts get really good, and unfortunately we dumped most of them earlier. And sure, we're going to return something to our hand. I assume the big one, sure. We can flash it out. What's it going to become? A 3/4? So I think we just flash out the Fairy Vandal. And I think we take 5 here. Well, yeah, we can't menace double block. We could have Thirst and traded here on the lifelink, but I think we are willing to take this damage. If they do have a ninjutsu, it's only a 2. Oh, they've got the treasure, so it's a 3. That's fine. And we'll see. What does it do? Cool. So they got our last Thirst for Knowledge. Means we might just be losing this War of Attrition, even with all this extra draw. Because the Scrap Work Rager is going to die, we're going to attack with it. End turn. Pass. We do have another Fairy Vandal, but now we're running out of draw spells. So this is looking like we're not going to make it in the end. Especially as our opponent able to get a little bit of value on that last turn. And I think here we have to block. So we block here and here. They don't have another card, so I think there's no point in blocking the 2. Can't ninjutsu anything out. Not the greatest draw. Gains us a life, though. We stay alive as we draw a few more cards. Here we really need some kind of draw. Just to pump my guys, give me a chance. If we're just both sitting here drawing, I think my opponent is unfortunately in a better position, especially if they're getting creatures of any kind. That's alright, we'll play the Skullflayer out. Because this doesn't block effectively, we'll attack for 1, just chip in for some cheap stuff. If they draw some kind of bounce, they can sneak something in, but I think we're... if we had to double block here and block here, they get 3. Unless they can ninjutsu it into a bigger thing, but I don't know that they can. I don't know. This is getting a little bit risky, but I think we're at that point where we have to chip in what little bit we can when we can. So even things like our waterfront districts at this point would be really good. Okay, this is actually going to turn on the Skullflayer if we mill one or more creatures. If we only get one, we just don't return it. However, the Puppeteer is such a good creature that we probably should return it. And now, our opponent doesn't have much reach. We have other creatures. I think we hit in for 3. We've got 4. This is Menace, though. So do we hold one more back and still just chip in for 1? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Keep him from getting a lucky ninjutsu draw that does bring him back into it. Alright, our opponent should sack to draw, yeah. I think that's the right play for them. At this point, I think it's just whoever can dig deeper. Sure. That's actually pretty good, as it buffs their ninjas. Like I say, I think it's this point, if we can get some draw spells and draw into more draw, we might have a chance to pull this out. Because I think we have more draw than our opponent. However, we have spent a lot of our draw. 3 Tainted Indulgences. 4, I think we've had all 4 of our thirsts. Yeah, have gone. But we have ways of even just singular draw. Those Ragers are good, but they're going to deal damage, and that's going to cause us some problems. So we need the Gixian Puppeteer online in order to gain that life. So this guy will let us at least sack a Vandal or something. We might sack the Gigamole. Alright. Here now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 5, so I think we again need to keep up 6 blockers. We do want to be careful. I don't want to mill myself too much. We are getting a little light on cards. Dockside Chef, even better, because it will sack itself to draw a card. And I don't think we want to do that. I think we just want to get in some safe hits. And save that. Because it's not a tap ability, so it just, unlike this one, it doesn't matter if it has haste. Or that it has summoning sickness. Okay, so now our opponent, I think, seeing maybe that they're not in a great spot, but getting the double buffs here is gotten a little aggressive, greedy. Let's see, we're gonna, if we Dockside Gixian, we'll sack the Dockside, the Gixian kills it still. We get past that Menace, and then we just have to chump a few things, and that's fine. I think all of these are just end up as chumps. So those are our blocks. We see what our opponent's got. We activate Dockside. We sacrifice Dockside. And remembering that that's only 1 card on our opponent's turn, we must sacrifice another creature, which we sacrifice something that's going to die anyways. To draw another card, get our triggers. There we go. And keep our Fairy Vandals alive, kind of keep this field in our advantage. All right, so we got that waterfront. Here again, I think we're going to go no attacks. We just can't afford a bounce surprise block. Oh, losing 2 life is going to feel really bad. However, I think we waterfront district to draw the card. Get our triggers. That gets us 2 life from the opponent. We can play a swamp out, and we do have Puppeteer, but then we don't have enough for Infernal Grasp, and I do want to keep that around. So I think again we just go in with our smallest guy, who only trades here. I want to keep this Infernal Grasp because that guy is pumping, and so that makes his blocks or his attacks really bad if we can kill it at instant speed. Again, if this was go for the throat, a little bit better. As we don't have to take that 2 life. Oh, perfect. Okay, but I think if we play Puppeteer here, we can Downfall and Infernal Grasp, and there we go. Our opponent sees the writing on the wall, and we did it. All right, so that was 3 in a row. We get to rank up, and like I said, I had fun in this match. I'm enjoying this deck, even though it's a budget version. So we'll go look at that again real quick. Yeah, but I would highly recommend, again, shout out to Saffron Olive for first piloting this. Again, I don't want to take any credit on that. I didn't come up with the idea. I just have liked the draw 2 in Brothers War Limited. So the idea spoke to me, so I said, let me throw it together. And then we made a few changes based on kind of what we had access to. So I know like Falkenrath Forebear instead of the second Skull Flayer, I think. Which I don't know why we don't have 2 Skull Flayers, as that's a common. Gravelighters, I think, in place of Anointers, and maybe Gigamoles in place of the Puppeteers. I'm not sure what all the changes that I made were. I know I just kind of went 1 for 1. I know like this should be Go for the Throat. This other Fading Hope should be Rona's Vortex. The Fading Hope is not bad in it. It's still a bounce, and sometimes you get the Scry. But I think the kicker on that will be more useful. On that, I think Dockside Chef is brought in place of another sack outlet. But I do kind of like it because it can be activated and sack itself on the turn you play it. So it reads... it essentially reads, right, 1 black, draw a card. And then we saw in that last one there, you do have to be careful. It's very easy to forget you don't draw on your opponent's turn, so you need 2 draw triggers. Which luckily we were able to get that second one, and since the blocks were already going to kill the creatures, it didn't really matter. And I think our opponent just maybe didn't see that, or I think to their credit realized that it was not looking good and they needed to be aggressive, but then maybe didn't find the math and see all those lines. But we almost didn't see them as well, so it's really easy to do it. Oh, so it's that Evolved Sleeper is what I think the Dockside and things are in place of. The Evangel of Synthesis, like we said, don't have the Goat for the Throats, need more Gurgling Anointers and Gixian Puppeteers, and then lands. So it's a little bit streamlined. We have a couple of random creatures. But I think the changes we made and the swaps we made are still good and make sense as kind of close replacements, because the deck still works. It still does what it wants to do. The Gixian Puppeteer is, excuse me, really good. And yeah, the deck is way better if you have more of them, but I think just being able to get these and getting your draw 2 triggers, and then it recurs some of your smaller creatures, really, really good. So I hope you enjoyed. I've been having fun with this. Maybe we'll try it another time. But there we go. It was 3 in a row. Yeah, we were definitely at bronze 3, so by no means is this top tier. But it's a fun little deck that lets us make some decisions, draw some cards, and defeat our enemies. All right, thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe for more content, or leave us any comments if you saw any other misplays, any other things we could have maybe done better, because we're always looking to improve. Until then, or until next time, see ya.